Parak Zayin, we are up to Pasuk Yud Ches. Every once in a while, there's a moment in the history of the world where something happens that's totally inconceivable. Something one would never have imagined, and something that causes us to question why the Rebbeinu Shalom makes such a thing come to pass. These psukim are such a unique moment in world history. Klal Yisrael had a period of Shoftim. The period of Shoftim lasted for centuries. And the 12th Shofet was Shimshon. Shimshon was a person who by all accounts was great. He was more than anything a judge of Klal Yisrael. Chazal tell us he sat and judged Klal Yisrael for 20 years. And here, Shimshon comes to a very horrible moment in his life. He had married Delilah, as we learned. And Delilah had somehow pressured him to tell the secret of his strength. We learned that Delilah ki higid lo es kol libai. Delilah saw that Shimshon had told the truth. That if the hair, his Nazirite hair would be cut, he would lose his strength. And now she called the Pelishtim, saying, Alu apam, come this time. Even though Shimshon lied to me previously, ki higidli es kalibai, this time he's telling the truth. And the Sani Plishtim came to her, Vayalu hakesef biyadam. And they took the money they promised her in their hands, so sure were they that this time he was telling the truth. How did she know? The Gemara says, because he used the Shem Hashem. He said, Nazir lekimani. Using God's name, Shimshon would not do that in a lie, and he must have told the truth. Clearly, the greatness of Shimshon is obvious even in this moment. Vatiyashnehu al birkeha. He fell asleep on her lap. Vatikra lo'ish vatagalach esheva machlaf Yisroel. And she called a man, and they cut the 7 locks of hair that were upon his head. Vatochel la'anoisai vayasar kayach me'olav. And she began to cause him pain. Vayasar kayach me'olav, and his energy was gone. But Tamer, she screamed out, Plishtim alecha Shimshon. Shimshon, the Plishtim are upon you. Vayikatz mishanasai, and he woke up, Vayomer. And Shimshon said to himself, Eitzei kapam bepam. I will be able to go out as I did previously. V'ino er, and I will wake up and arouse myself. V'ula yoda ki Hashem sar me'olav. And he didn't realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu had left him, and now he is captured by the Pelishtim. A very difficult moment to understand what happened here is very challenging. But I have to tell you, most people understand he was a Nazir, and if his hair was cut off, he didn't have strength anymore. Later, when his hair will grow back, he'll have his strength again. It puzzles me as to why this makes sense to most people. To me, it makes no sense at all. Even if Shimshon had cut off his own hair, it would be hard to understand what in the world the hair has to do with the strength that Shimshon had. And alachas kama v'kama, certainly, when it was done to him against his will, and it was done to him by others, he was not even in violation of a lav, of an aveira of the Nazir cutting his hair. And this begs a appropriate explanation. Now, previous weeks we had explained 2 different approaches to the marriage of Shimshon and Delilah. Rav Tzadik's first approach was that Delilah was a Jewish woman. Shimshon wanted to settle down and build a house of Kedusha. And when he told her the secret of his strength, he was talking to a woman he trusted. He felt her previous attempts to see if she would lose his strength was simply curiosity. And he warned her that this time it's a lav, don't do it. The other approach was that Shimshon holach achareinav, that Shimshon made a mistake. He allowed his own weakness to cause him the choice of a wife. And it was through a great amount of depression that Shimshon fell and made this mistake. The truth is probably in the combination of both. Shimshon had no idea that she would cut his hair. And had he not been in this sense of depression, as mentioned in the previous psukim, he would not have made the mistake. But be that as it may, what does his hair have to do with his strength? Not to be understood. Now think about Klal Yisrael. Think about the Jewish people. Klal Yisrael must have been stunned. Overnight, they went from a nation led by Shimshon and in control of their own destiny to a nation controlled by the Pelishtim. And here their leader, the Tzaddik Hador, was captured by the Pelishtim and was ridiculed, was blinded, and was ridiculed. Klal Yisrael must have been walking around in a stupor. They must have been stunned. What did HaKadosh Baruch Hu do to us? And what's the message? Let's try as best as we can to understand what happened to Shimshon. But after everything we'll talk about, the answer is Tzarachian. The Ben Torah knows that sometimes you have a kasha, you have a difficulty. It's very difficult to understand fully what took place. We can only try to look to some of the rules of Chazal and try to have a little bit of an understanding of what took place. Certainly, as the Baal HaAkedah says in Parshas Nasai, the hair did not bring the strength. The Baal HaAkedah says that in every one of the 4 times that Shimshon told his wife one reason or another for his strength, each time he became progressively weaker. So it had nothing directly to do with his hair. Let's try to understand and see if we can learn at least some practical lesson from what took place. There's an important rule that we would do well to understand regarding Kedusha, regarding holiness. It's a klal regarding every spiritual thing in the world. Spiritual things don't exist in the physical world, except to the extent that a person is willing to recognize it. What I mean to say is that a davar shebekdusha is totally dependent on the eyes and the attitude of the person connected to it. For example, if you have a Yud, Kei, Vav, Kei, the letters of Hashem's name that were written by someone who believes in Torah and in the Rebbeinu Shalom, that Yud, Kei, Vav, Kei can never be erased. If that Yud, Kei, Vav, Kei is written on the wall of a building, you would have to cut out that piece of wall. You could not erase it. Yet, if these letters were to be put together by someone who doesn't believe in anything, who doesn't believe in Torah, the Rebbeinu Shalom, then they have no Kedusha at all. No Kedusha at all. They could be Avodah Zarah if somebody has the wrong concept. Because Kedusha, spirituality, exists only to the degree that a person recognizes its existence. The Shulchan Aruch in Arachaim Siman Shin Lamed Dalet Tzav Chaf Aleph says, "Apikursim, Hainu Adukim B'Avodas Alilim." somebody who serves Avodah Zarah, whether a non-Jew, v'chei mumrim l'Avodah Zarah, or a Jew. Shekasav lem kisvei kodesh, who wrote Sukkim, wrote Sifrei Torah, ein matzilin oisam. You don't save them from a fire. Certainly not on Shabbos. V'af b'choil, sarfin ima askari sheben. They're burnt. They're destroyed. They have no kedusha. There's no mitzvah to have them around. We destroy them. Now listen to the point. The point is that it's kadosh if a person gives a kedusha. If to a person who writes the shame it has no meaning, it's not kadosh at all. It's interesting. Sometimes the newspapers print pictures that contain the Yud Kei Vav Kei in the pictures itself. And it should not be done, certainly not, because newspapers are thrown out. But when it happens inadvertently, as a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, on the tombstone, on the matzeva of Rabbi Elimelech Milozhinsk, it has Hashem's name spelled out, which was a foolish thing to do in the first place. I think it says yisroel Kim with a hey. So roughly every 5 years on his yard site, there's a picture in all the Jewish papers, and then they put out a letter, put it in Shemus, and they remember for about 3 or 4, sometimes 5 years not to do it again, and then 5 years later it appears again. Certainly, l'chatchila, it should be treated as Shemus. However, strictly speaking, it's not really so. Pais can talk about coins that had the Yud Kei Vav Kei that were written out on the coin, or a different name of Hashem written out on the coin. And the Pais can discuss whether that has any kedusha at all. And to a great degree, this is found there in Siman Shin Lamed Daled. And I want to read to you the language of a Mishnah Berurah, Sivkot Nun Beis. Harav Mereno Rav Yehuda Miller, the Stapik Imuta Lahatichon, is unsure whether you're allowed to melt these coins. Shema Hinam Minim La'avodah Zarah. Maybe the people who wrote it, I believe, the ones who made the coins, maybe they believe in God. As you know, it's very unusual for the Mishnah Berurah to quote somebody by name, Reinu Harav Yehuda Miller. I have a friend named Yehuda Miller. I wonder if he knows about this Mishnah Berurah. The source is a Tshuvas Noideh Yehuda Tinyana Yeridei Siman Kuf Pei. Listen to what the Noideh Yehuda says. He quotes this Rabbi Yehuda Miller regarding coins that have a Yud Kei Vav Kei on them. And he says that Rabbi Yehuda Miller answered, he forbade melting them, destroying them, Shema Niskaven L'Shem Shemayim. Maybe the king who authorized it is indeed thinking of God, thinking of the Borei Olam, which fits with our rule that it depends on what the intention of the one who writes it may be, or in this case, the one who forms the coin. But listen to what the Noideh Yehuda writes about this. Even if the king that authorized the coin, he meant the creator, and even if the professional who made the tool which is used to imprint the coin, even if he meant God, still, the one who actually bangs with the heavy hammer onto the coin and puts in the impression, the person who's working, the laborer, he's the one that makes the image on the matbeya. He's just doing an act. He's not thinking of anything. In Cain, al chalponim lo nasa l'shmai. So you hear this rule. The rule is that a coin that has a Yud Kei Vav Kei, and the king meant it to be a Yud Kei Vav Kei, and the one who made the stamper meant it to be a Yud Kei Vav Kei. But if the fellow who's working did not mean it to be a Yud Kei Vav Kei, it has no Kedusha. And so, if in our favorite newspaper here in Flatbush, the FJJ, they would have a picture with Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is not done deliberately, and it shouldn't be there because of Kvayt Shamayim. But if it happened, it doesn't matter what the dear editor had in mind, or the photographer had in mind, or even the person that set the pages. What does it depend on? The fellow in working the printing press, the fellow who pushes the button, turns whatever it is that causes it to print. Does he mean God's name? Of course not. He doesn't even know God's name is there. And therefore it doesn't have Kedusha. So we learned to halacha. But the point is that to have Kedusha, there has to be an intention, and this is not limited to God's name. In everything we do, we control how much Kedusha enters our lives, how much Kedusha enters our shuls, and how much Kedusha enters our homes. When we stand in shul by Nesias Kapayim, by Duchening, the Kayanim give us a very special bracha, 3 brachas. And these are special blessings that come from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Are they received by everyone equally? I would think so. Whoever's standing in shul is equal. Yet, Shulchan Aruch says that the people Yechavnu Kineged Kayanim HaMevarchim should have kavanah towards the Kayanim who are saying the bracha. What kind of kavanah? What kind of kavanah? They're standing there getting a bracha. Ruchnius, spirituality, exists to the degree you recognize it. If you stand there and you feel Yevarechacha Hashem v'yishmerecha, which Chazal teach Yevarechacha Hashem b'mamayin, God should give you your physical needs v'yishmerecha, and give you shmira that you should keep it. Yisa Hashem panav elecha, Hashem should shine His face upon you and give you your spiritual needs. Bichuneka, and give you chayin, and give you the chayin of a Talmid Chacham. Yisa Hashem panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Kadosh Baruch Hu's presence should be with you, and you should feel peace, menuchas hanefesh. These 3 things, a blessing for Gashmias, for Ruchnias, and for Menuchas HaNefesh, they will come to you to the degree that you recognize the bracha. I've seen this by Birchas HaTzadikim. So when a tzaddik gives a bracha, it works as well as the recipient recognizes the Kedusha. If the recipient recognizes the Kedusha, the bracha is powerful. No bracha has any guarantee. But anything spiritual exists to the degree that you recognize it. The same thing is true about davening. Davening is as important, as powerful, as significant as you give it respect. And again, a fascinating halacha in Mishnah Berurah, actually a beer halacha, that is not understandable unless you absorb this concept, this yisod, that the Devarim shebekdusha are as real as the person who's receiving them. In the beginning of Siman Nun Ches, the Biur Halacha talks about the chashivos, the significance of davening v'sikin. Davening with sunrise. Is davening with sunrise the equivalent of davening with a minyan? Is it better? Is it worse? The Biur Halacha says that davening v'sikin, davening with sunrise, is as chashuv, as significant as davening with minyan, for those who are nisharimba, to those who have a zehirus, who are careful with it. What does that mean? Either yes or no. Mishnah Berurah brings a raya, haladik raya, to the Mishnah in Brachas, which talks about someone who's in a mikveh, in the middle of toveling, and he realizes this man has come. He davens v'sikin. It's worth it to daven v'sikin in the mikveh, covering himself properly, without minyan. Haladik raya of the Mishnah Berurah. So it is worth it. So why do you need this harimba? The answer is, v'sikin is as chashuv as you make it. If you happen to be davening at sunrise, that's not v'sikin. If you understand that that's the primary moment of tefillah, that's v'sikin. Why do we call it v'sikin? Why don't we call it im hanetz? V'sikin means people that are careful, people that have a zehirus, people that care, people that recognize kedusha. If you recognize the chashivas of a sikin, then it's chashuv to you, and then it exists, and then it's there. It's there just as much as the bracha of the kayin, and just as much as the bracha of the tzaddik. Your tefillah has wings, your tefillah is powerful, your tefillah matters. Rav Aaron Kotler in the Mishnah's Rav Aaron in numerous places, first in Chelek Aleph, page Lamed Beis, has a mimer entitled Baz Lidavar Yechav Alai. If you treat something with bizayin, if you treat something improperly, Yechav Alai, it will not come through for you. And he talks about davening. And he brings an incredible Gemara in Yuma. The Gemara in Yuma says, HaMispalel, Sarech Shiafsia Gimel Psia Islah Chayrav. When you finish davening, you have to take 3 steps back. And if you didn't take 3 steps back, Roi Eloi Shaloi Hispal. It's not worth davening. Why is 3 steps back so important? It happens sometimes you're strapped into a seat. In an airplane, there's turbulence, you can't stand up, you daven Shemona Esrei sitting. How are you going to take 3 steps back? Mishnah Berurah talks about riding an animal, having the animal step 3 steps back. Imagine sitting in a car and driving a little bit back. No, not in the highway. What's this all about? Why is this important? Dr. Byron, it's not the 3 steps back. It's the image that you're standing in front of the Borei Olam, in front of Hashem. You're davening. If you're davening and just walk away, you're treating the davening as a Messiah. You don't recognize you're standing in front of God. This is a Messiah for all of us. How often, Dalef Neimi Ata Imed. Dalef Neimi Ata Imed. Rabbi Eliezer was sick. He was ill. His last illness. His Talmidim came to him, as the Gemara relates in the 4th parak of Brachas, and they said, "Tell us with what we can be kind of Olam Haba." He told them, It can't be easy if that's what he said in his final illness. Very hard. I speak to myself. Davening is as chashiv as a person makes it. Spiritual things are as important as people hold them dear, as people are mechashiv them. Davening with minyan, how chashiv is it to you? What happens when you're in a world that's quarantined and there's no minyan? Do you say, well, Baruch Dayanemis, there's no minyan, I can have it at home? Or do you tell yourself, how could this be? How could this be? Let's at least daven v'sikin. We'll have that chashivos. There should be a world movement of everyone davening v'sikin. Can you imagine a whole city davening at the same exact moment when people have to daven at home? the same moment, everyone. And that moment is not just any moment, it's sunrise, v'sikin. How powerful the tefillas would be. If you're machshav the davening, you'll do it. The daven v'sikin. That's what the Rosh Yeshiva are doing. That's what Balei Halacha are doing. That's what Talmidei Chachamim are doing. If the Hamoinam would do it too, it would be extraordinary. Today we're in the middle of a worldwide virus where people are stuck at home. The shuls are empty. What can we do about our davening? What can we do about our davening? Someone asked me, is it God's will that the shuls be closed? Well, I don't speak for God. But God's will is in the Torah and in the Shulchan Aruch. And if the guidelines of halacha say not to go to shul under circumstances where it's nishmartem ha'odla nafshei sechem, then it's God's will the shul be closed. Is it God's will that we lose the kayach hatfilah? Is it God's will that the power of Klal Yisrael and davening be lost? I don't know God's will. I don't speak for him. I look in his book. I look at Shulchan Aruch. I look at Mishnah Berurah. No, it doesn't have to be lost. You can have v'sikin. You have the same power, the same ability as minyan. Baz ledavar yechav eloi. Don't be mevazi your davening. Your davening has value. It has worth. Sunrise today in New York City was 7 a.m. 7 a.m. for Shemini Esrei. Person can start davening at 6:30 and have plenty of time to get there. The point is to the limit that you recognize the spiritual value of your davening. It has value. If a Yud-Kei Vav-Kei that has no chashivas could be melted and burnt and destroyed, what's with the davening if you have no chashivas for it? Rachmana litzlan. We should feel close to our davening. We should be mashav it. We should understand it. By Kedusha, we find an expression, Kedusha kulam ke'echad, einim be'ema v'aimrim b'yira. The angels in heaven, when they praise the Bayrei Olam, Kedusha kulam ke'echad, einim be'ema v'aimrim b'yira. They all say Kedusha together, and they say it with fear, with trembling. Now, angels don't tremble. Angels don't fear. What does it mean? Einim be'ema v'aimrim b'yira. Saying Kadosh, 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 Hashem Tzavakos is be'etzem. It's something which inherently are words of fear, words of awe, words of trembling. It's not an emotion. It's a fact. It's a fact. And we've been saying Kadosh, 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 Hashem Tzavakos 3 times every morning. And if you're like most people, we don't tremble. We say, we should praise your name in this world, the same way in heaven. In heaven they do it be'emo b'yira. We need to do it that way too. We need to yearn to get back to our davening with minyan and saying the Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh of the Malachim. Sometimes something has to be taken away from you in order to be able to appreciate it. In Eretz Yisrael, how holy is the Holy Land? How spiritual is a visit to Eretz Yisrael? Something spiritual is only as important, as powerful, as meaningful as you recognize it. This summer I went to Eretz Yisrael and I've gone, Baruch Hashem, dozens of times. I was with some young men who are going for the very first time, a Sifta Bachrim. And as we were walking through the airport to get to the customs lines, the Israeli government sets it up so you get used to it right away. You wait online for customs agents who are in no rush. Welcome to Israel. And as we're walking through, one of them says to me, look, there's a moving sidewalk. If we stand on it and it moves, do we get schar of walking Dalet Amis in Eretz Yisrael? And I realized they were walking Dalet Amis in Eretz Yisrael. I was rushing to get to customs so I can get to my taxi so I can get to Yerushalayim. But they were walking Dalet Amis in Eretz Yisrael. As much as you recognize it, only if you recognize it, only if you see it, only if it's meaningful. It's a different mitzias, a different fact, depending on what you're doing. We've been blessed to be able to go to Eretz Yisrael. We've gone often. We go with great joy. But we need to recognize the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael. The Kedusha is there to the degree that you recognize it. And that's what happened to Shimshon. What happened to Shimshon, according to his level, is that he had a special Kedusha. He was a Nazir Elakim, but more than that, not only was he the unique Nazir Shimshon, he was the leader of Klal Yisrael. And he succumbed on his level to a weakness of Shimshon Holach Acher Einav. His wife Delilah was the subject of his weakness. It's tough. But Shimshon failed to recognize his own Kedusha as he had previously, and it fled from him. This is the message of the Akedas Yitzchak. I see here in the art scroll Shoftim, they bring the exact same message from a letter of Rabbeinu Avraham ben Rambam, although they don't cite the source. But this is the point. It's not the hair that gave him the strength. Not at all. It's the fact that he recognized the significance of the hair, of the Nazirus, of his unique role. It's called Nazir Shimshon. It's a unique Nazirus. He recognized his holiness, his Kedusha. It existed. The moment that he was mezalzel, that he played around with it, the moment that his unique place in his generation was compromised, it wasn't there anymore. It was gone. And we learned over the last two prakim how Klal Yisrael did not appreciate Shimshon. How when Shimshon went to do battle, they didn't go with him. They sought to betray him. Klal Yisrael had a leader, but they were not machshav the leader. They didn't hold him dear. His bracha wasn't the bracha of a tzaddik. And Klal Yisrael lost that leader. If you don't recognize it, baz ledavar, yechav eloi. Baz ledavar, if you treat something with disrespect, yechav eloi, it will be harmful to you. It won't be helpful to you. In tough moments, we need to recognize the transience of Olam Hazeh, how temporary is this world, how a world can be brought to its knees by one of God's tiniest creations. A tiny flea into the head of Titus did him in. A tiny invisible virus could do in the economy of a world. We have to recognize the Dvarim Shebekdusha that we have, We have to appreciate the Batei Midrashim, the Tefillah B'Tzibor, the trip to Eretz Yisrael, the things that are denied of us during this period, and start to love them just a little more. And I must tell you, the greatest davar shebekdusha in our world today is marriage, is a Jewish home. Is a Jewish home. Somebody who gets married is like he builds one of the churvos Yerushalayim, like he's rebuilding part of what was destroyed in the Churban. Marriage will only be as special as you recognize its spiritual value. There are plenty of reasons that the physical world does not get better because you get married. You have more responsibilities. There are more demands on your money in most cases. More demands on your time. There's always some sort of silliness that one has to put up with. Marriage has many impediments in the practical world, which is why the non-Jewish world has done away with the sanctity of marriage. Marriage will be as good to you as you appreciate it. Marriage will be good if you appreciate it for its spiritual component. If you're looking for the physical benefits of marriage, if you're looking to get married because of wealth to which you're coming, or beauty in which you're coming, or these are all transient, they all pass. Get used to them and they're not meaningful. If there's no spiritual component, you won't have it. It's never too late. A person can stop and think for a moment and can change. During this difficult period, someone asked me, how are you doing? I told him, great. When I say Maidim, I thank Hashem that I'm healthy. A week ago, I wasn't doing that. A week ago, I wasn't happy that I'm healthy. Now I appreciate it. Now it makes me happy. I'm delighted to be well. Hashem Yishmar. Appreciating things gives them meaning. And nowhere more than in the kedusha of marriage and the spirituality of marriage. So that's our first lesson. Kedusha, spirituality, ruchnius, arota olam haba, depends on you. Depends how much you appreciate it, how much you recognize it, how much you love it, how much you hug it. Take a Gemara, hold it tight, hold it dear. Next time you kiss the Sefer Torah, embrace it. The first time there'll be a minyan in your shul again and the Sefer Torah is taken out, people should run over and hug it. We missed you. Till now we took you for granted. We thanked Hashem that we have access to a Sefer Torah in the 21st century, in a democracy. Wow, what a great opportunity. But this is only half the message. The Ramban dreamt of going to Eretz Yisrael and finally did so towards the end of his life. The Ramban traveled to Eretz Yisrael in his older years, and in the Igros HaRamban, which is printed in the 2-volume Kisvei HaRamban of Moshe Rav Kook, in the first volume, Igeres Zayin, the 7th letter, the Ramban writes about what he found in Yerushalayim. He writes, to his great disappointment, that there's no minyan of Jews that lives in Yerushalayim. It's desolate, it's destroyed. And the Rambam writes something very profound. When he came to Eretz Yisrael and walked to Yerushalayim, imagine his disappointment. This is a period of time, there were no telephones, there was no communication. Ramban dreamt of going to Yerushalayim. Did he think he won't find a minyan? We all know there's a Ramban shul. Why didn't he just go to the Ramban shul? Because there was no Ramban shul. He was disappointed, and what did he see? Let me tell you. Writes the Ramban. Ki rabba ha'azuva begoidel hashimamoin. Great is the abandonment, and enormous is the destruction. Kloloi shel davar. And this is the rule. Kol ha'mekudesh mechaverai, chorav yoser mechaverai. Whatever has great holiness has greater desolation, greater destruction, when that holiness is abandoned. When there's no one to recognize the Kedusha, the more Kaddish it is, the greater it falls. Yerushalayim chareva min hakoil. Ve'eretz Yehuda yosem min hagolu. A rule. The holier something is, the more the disgrace to the holiness causes one to fall. And once you read this Ramban, you realize that it's always that way. A Kayin who becomes a Chalal, a Kayin whose Kedusha is disgraced, his father married a divorced woman, something a Kayin's not allowed to do, the son loses Kahuna. Does he become a Levi? No. He becomes a yisroel. He becomes less. He goes from Kayin down to yisroel. If you have food that becomes tamei, are you allowed to eat it? Of course you're allowed to eat it. Chulin, tameim, you're allowed to eat. Sometimes people are tamei and they eat it. It becomes truma, it has a higher kedusha. When it becomes tamei, does it revert back to chulin? No, it doesn't revert back to chulin. Once truma becomes tamei, one is not allowed to eat it. You know why? Because kol ha-mekudesh mechaveiroi, chorav yoser mechaveiroi. Anything that's more holy than something else has a greater downfall. If a Jewish woman who's married, is unfaithful and becomes pregnant from another man, the child is a mamzer. The non-Jewish woman who's married, and there is Eishes Ish by non-Jews, is unfaithful and has a child, the child is not a mamzer. Because kol ha-mekudesh mechaveiroi, the yid, the kayin, the truma, is chorav yoser mechaveiroi. The churban is greater. It's very true about marriage. Marriage is the most sacred institution we have. It's Kaddish. It's Kaddish. And I remember as a chassan, I got engaged Labor Day, the beginning of Elzman. And Sukkot, we were chassan Kala, and my parents took us up to see our bungalow up in the Swan Lake. On the way, my Kala and I were in the back seat. Well, we're going to do a whole ride up. So I brought along the Sefer Tamei HaMinhagim. In those days, there weren't all these Likut Sfarim about marriage, but Tamei HaMinhagim is an old Sefer that has a section on marriage, and we learned it together. And there I am sitting with my Kala. And one of the lower notes, the Tamei HaMinhagim has a top section, a lower section. One of the lowest section notes, it has a shaila. Do you say Shechianu when you get married? Beautiful question for Chassan Kala to read. Do you say Shechianu? It says Tshuva, Omar, it quotes someone who said, Yoser haya lachem lishoel im levarach dayin ha'emes. You should have better asked whether to make a blessing dayin ha'emes. Why? He says because people get married for wrong reasons. Apparently the question was asked from someone who was in that category. Those who marry for money, those who marry for beauty, those who marry for other reasons, should make a bracha dayin ha'emes, not shechiyan. Kol ha-mekudesh mechaveiroi. The holier something is, chorav yoser mechaveiroi. When it's not appreciated, when it's used for other reasons, then the opposite happens. Then Then it goes down to something tamei, something negative, something not positive. The pasuk in Zechariah, I believe it's Perek Gimel, Yigar Hashem b'cha hasatan, Yigar Hashem b'cha habayche b'Yerushalayim. It talks about the Satan's influence. The Ramami Pano teaches the pasuk unlike most Mefarshim. B'cha habayche b'Yerushalayim, most Rishonim say, refers to the Rabbi Shalom, which shows Yerushalayim. Ramami Pano says no, it refers to the Satan. The Satan starts up in Yerushalayim. Why does the Satan start up in Yerushalayim? Because it's Mekudesh Mechaverei. The Satan looks to start up with something with greater Kedusha. Rav Schwab, in two places in the Sefer, I believe in Parshas Vayera, and again later in Parshas Vayeshev, says, isn't it strange? Sarah, Rivka, and Dinah, all were so beautiful that non-Jewish kings looked to kidnap them and marry them. Punkt. They were the most beautiful people in the world. They had 3 generations in a row, or 3 out of 4 generations. What's going on? So Rav Schwab, Kol HaMekudesh Mechaverei. The holier something is, the more the Sitra Achra, the Koyach HaTumah, looks to grab it, looks to take it away. And since they were so extraordinarily great, they were put in the danger of the Koyach HaTumah, Kol HaMekudesh Mechaverei. The holier it is, the more tenuous the hold on Kedusha is, the more it can slip away. Rav Pam used to say that about a Kayin not going to Beis HaKvaris. He has Kedusha. He doesn't go to a Beis HaKvaris. He would say the same thing about a woman who's expecting. The custom that an expecting woman, even if she's married to a yisroel, stays away from a Beis HaKvaris is because the baby has great Kedusha. It's great Kedusha. Stay away from a place of Tumah. The idea of appreciating Eretz Yisrael and getting Kedusha from it is mentioned by many. The Nitziv, Meshiv Davar, Tshuva Mem Dalid, and the Minchas Elazar in the Sefer Divrei Chaim V'Shalom, page Kuf Pei Gimel, say something incredible. Why is it that Jews did not return to Eretz Yisrael in the Bayis Sheni? In the time of the second Beis Hamikdash, very few returned. Why? So they say, Klal Yisrael remembered. Kol HaMekudesh Mechaverei Charav Yosem Mechaverei. Being in Eretz Yisrael requires a person to act in a holy way, to recognize the Kedusha. Just like a Kayin is commanded to be careful with his Kedusha more than a Yisrael, and just like Truma has to be treated in a different way than Chulin, I'd be afraid to have Truma in my house. Someone once bought me a bottle of wine for a guest for a Shabbos Suda. It was Shemitah wine. He thought I'd be delighted it was Shemitah wine, but I'd say, Bezdin, we're allowed to use it. I was terrified. Shemitah wine? You're not allowed to waste a drop of Shemitah wine. You had to drink every drop. We squeezed the bottle as much as we could to get every drop out. We're afraid to go to a Davish and B'Kedusha. You have to be excellent. Klal Yisrael was afraid. They remembered that in Eretz Yisrael, the Yetzirah for Avodah Zarah was so great. The difficulties, the challenges, they said, Al Tivieni Lidei Nisayin. It was trepidation. And those who went to Eretz Yisrael went with that feeling of trepidation, this Kedusha. We go to Eretz Yisrael, that's how we should go. We should go with the feeling, the trepidation, the fear. Will we stand up to the challenge of being Zaycha to stand in Eretz Yisrael? Will we? Make a Pesach Seder in Eretz Yisrael? Imagine! People take it for granted. And now HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, oh, you Americans, no more flights to Eretz Yisrael. What's the message? Look, when people say, why did God do it? I don't know. I'm not his press agent. But what's to be learned from it? Easy. If you don't appreciate something, you lose it. And if you lose it, you appreciate it. Last week, I didn't thank Hashem that I'm healthy. And now when I say Moedim, I praise Hashem that Baruch Hashem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has me healthy. I appreciate it. I'm nach it. Appreciating things. Appreciating things is what life is about. It's what Kedusha is about. It's what relationships are about. A relationship with a wife, a relationship with parents, a relationship with God, a relationship with Eretz Yisrael. It's all about appreciating. Appreciating. Davening 3 times a day. We do it all our lives. Who appreciates it? Now people appreciate it. Now people appreciate it. Kadosh Baruch Hu, we appreciate it already. Hope we always will. I have a message that I tell people who speak to me. But I tell one story if it's a Hasidic person who's speaking. One if it's a yeshiva man who's speaking. And one if it's someone who's more modern Orthodox. To a chassid I say, there was once an incident in Williamsburg, a generation ago. A well-known philanthropist, a wealthy man in Williamsburg, became ill with a terrible diagnosis. He went to all the rebbes for a bracha, and sure enough, his treatments were completed and he was declared clean. He beat the odds. And every chassid said, it was my rebbe's bracha that did it. My rebbe's bracha. He went to the Satmar rebbe, Zechreinu Levracha, to tell him the good news, and he said, every chassid says it's his rebbe's bracha that did it. I don't know what's going to be. So Satmar rebbe said, I'll tell you. Whichever rebbe has more chassidim saying it, he's going to win. But they're all wrong. Really, the refuah came from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Aber hat wenig chassidim. Hat nebuch wenig chassidim. He doesn't have so many people speaking for him. When will this virus come to an end? When there will be a Ratzon Hashem for it to end. I hope soon. When the message will pass. I have the same lesson that I tell someone from the more modern Orthodox background, B'Shem Rabbi Yoshe Ber Soloveitchik. I heard this from Rabbi Baum and Teaneck, a good friend, quite a while ago. He said that there was once a psychologist who spoke to Rabbi Yoshe Ber, and he said, the Yom Neiram davening is extraordinary, but B'chein tein pachtecha, Hashem placed your fear? That part of it, I deal a whole day as a psychologist with people who have too many fears. They're afraid of illness, they're afraid of financial problems, they're afraid of all kinds of things. I have to drive away their fears. And you're telling me I should daven v'chein tein pachtecha? We should have fear. Rabbi Yoshe Ber told him just the opposite. V'chein tein pachtecha. Have fear of God. Who's going to take away the virus? God. V'chein tein pachtecha. If you have fear of God, you don't have to have fear of other things. You do what you're supposed to do. You do what you're called upon to do. That's all it's demanded of you. And what's there to be afraid of? What's there to be afraid of? There's a controller. Hashem is controlling. It's controlling that which is supposed to happen. That which is supposed to be. Ramosha spoke in a similar way on Sukkot of 1973, right after the Yom Kippur War. Everyone was afraid. Ramosha there said as well that David HaMelech fought battles and won. And Chizkiyahu slept, and while he was sleeping, Sacherev's army was destroyed. Was Chizkiyahu greater than David? No. But in David's generation, he'd win the battle and people would say it's God. Chizkiyahu knew in his generation, if they fight a battle, people will say it's us. Even if we say Tehillim, people will say it's us. If it happens while we're sleeping, people will say, but this is a way to let it be obvious that it's God. A lesson. The lesson is to appreciate what we have. We're now during a temporary period, and we need to appreciate. If Shimshon Nazir Lakim could lose his uniqueness, could lose his position as Shofet, could go into captivity for what? For not appreciating his uniqueness on his extraordinary level? It's a lesson for us. The lesson is to appreciate what we have. To appreciate the yisroel that we were able to travel to when we can't. The shuls that we were able to go to when we can't. The minyanim that we have and now we don't have. And to appreciate the kedusha in our lives. Kedusha in our homes. Kedusha in our marriage. The more we recognize it, the more unique it'll be, the more special it'll be. And I look forward very, very soon to be giving the shiur from the regular background of Achiezer, maybe it's a Hashem B'Kariv, B'Yaskayel Tzedek. Hashem should lift up all our shuls, take us to Eretz Yisrael, with the Gula Shleima B'Meher of Yamin.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.